Namaste, I'm Dr. Robert, and today on 5-ish Minutes with Dr. Robert, my subject is the word yoga. The word yoga, and this is true of most Sanskrit words, the word yoga originally had a very, very real-world kind of meaning. It literally meant what we call in English a yoke, Y-O-K-E. So the word yoga, the word yoke, they sound alike because they've come from the same Proto-Indo-European root. And a yoke is a thing that goes around the neck of a horse or a mule or a donkey for that matter, or an ox, a bullock, a draft animal, so that that animal can pull a cart or a plow or a chariot or whatever that animal might be pulling. If now they're not as common as they used to be, but still all over India you will see what are generally called bullock carts, and they are carrying things, and the bullocks are straining against these yokes. So yoga originally meant that yoke, and that's where the word yoga started out. So when an ox or a horse or a mule was connected to the thing that it needed to pull, it was connected by that yoke. We could say it was yoked. And that means there was a connection that had been created. So it didn't take that long for yoga to go from being just a yoke to being a connection. In fact, it didn't take that long for yoga to go from being a yoke to representing the chariot that it was yoked to, and then it didn't take that long for it to go from meaning the chariot that it was yoked to, but the thing that the chariot was involved in, which was war. So there came a point in the Rig Veda where the word yoga meant war, is in opposition to the word Shema, which means, at that time, which meant peace. Nowadays, there's a different definition for these. Aprapanam praptasya yoga, praptasya rakshanam kshemaha. So, apraptasya prapanam yoga. So the thing that you have not obtained, when you obtain it, that is called yoga. When you are connected to it, when you are yoked to it, that is yoga. And when you protect that thing that you have obtained, that's called kshema. So words are always changing, meanings are always changing. So, but that sense of being connected together, that sense of having a close connection and of there being activity involved, a result of that connection has continued. So in Ayurveda, for example, when we talk about a yoga, we're talking about combining vegetables and minerals and the occasional animal product, mixing them together, combining them in a particular way to create a compound that will be useful for treatment of some kind. When we talk about yoga in Jyotisha, we are talking about what happens when a planet and a star, or a planet and a constellation, or a planet in a particular house, or some other kind of combination occurs. And when these combinations occur, then we can interpret the potential results of those combinations. Yoga can mean all sorts of other things as well. It can mean espionage. It can mean all sorts of things that you would never think that it would indicate, because there is this sense that has sprouted branches and blossoms in all directions in the language. There's this sense of there being a connection between the individual and a thing that is going to cause some result. Eventually, what happened, even in the context of the Veda, was that, and this appears particularly in the Mahabharata, that when a warrior on a chariot realized he was going to die, then he would yoke himself to a different kind of chariot, a chariot that would take him into the heaven where the warriors would exist, through the sun into that heaven. So that yoga became an ethereal kind of transport. And there are even mentions of the gods and goddesses traveling around in space on yogas. Sometimes the word viman is used, but a yoga can also be an ethereal conveyance. Did this mean a flying saucer? Nobody knows, but it does indicate that there was There were conveyances in the subtle world as well as in the real world. This is only a small fraction of the potential indications of the word yoga. So when you use the word yoga, please do be aware of all the potential ramifications that that word implies. This is Dr. Robert wishing everyone happy yoga.